Welcome to All That Matters, a show about what's really worth your attention in the markets and economy today. Join hosts Michael Antonelli and Ross Mayfield as they tackle the latest headlines and answer real questions from clients.
Welcome to All That Matters with Mike and Ross. Ross, summer's winding down. Fall's kicking up. I'm ready to wear hoodies and rake the leaves again. Two things: the stock market is at an all-time high as we're speaking here. That's it's great for investors, great for clients, great for the nation. Ross and I did a couple videos asking whether we're at an all-time high or not. You can check those out. But as of today, the economy continues to improve. The Fed's cutting rates. Stock market's at an all-time high. And number two, it's your birthday. Happy birthday! What are we working with here?
Thanks. Yeah, turning 33. And like you said, Jerome Powell delivered a birthday gift last week, 50 basis point rate cut. So we'll start looking at that refinancing paperwork. But yeah, 33, good times.
Happy birthday, man. 33.
Thanks, man.
Got so much life ahead of you. The world's going to be awesome. The stock market will be awesome. You got a great future ahead of you, Ross. I'm excited for you. All right, so what we're going to do today, stock market at an all-time high. The election's coming up, but we already did plenty of content on that. Ross and I are going to do some myth busting because in our jobs, we get asked about all sorts of things, but generally the same things. And we live in two different states. We talk to all our clients. We're going to talk about some myth busting. We're going to do a little myth busting, 4 topics. The first of which is going to be de-dollarization. This is something we heard about a lot this year. Death of the dollar. What's going on? Should I be worried about BRIC countries not using the dollar and all these things? Here's what I want you to know about that. Then we'll kick it over to Ross for his take. One of the primary reasons the dollar is the world's reserve currency is very simple. Okay, very simple. We are the world's biggest customer, the U.S. consumer. We buy all the stuff in the world. Okay, we are the biggest customer of the world. And when we buy stuff from people, what do we give them? We give them dollars, tons of dollars, trillions of dollars. What do they do with those dollars? What can they do with them? Well, they could convert them to their currency, but there's a little risk there. They could buy land or U.S. equities, or they could buy U.S. Treasury bonds. The national debt is all these treasury bonds that countries are storing their wealth in. Those treasury bonds are their assets. So we flood the world with dollars. They have to do things with the dollars. That gives us a huge advantage. Again, we're the world's biggest customer. Number two, we have the world's most liquid and deep bond market. Those treasuries I just mentioned, you can move billions daily, billions and billions of dollars daily without even moving the market. You can't do that with the euro or gold or Bitcoin or whatever else you want to come up with. Those markets aren't deep enough for the world to transact in daily. The bond market the U.S. has is our secret weapon. There's no de-dollarization. We've been talking about this since the 40s and 50s. It's a myth, mainly proffered by our enemies, I would think. But remember, we're the world's biggest customer. We got the deepest bond market. Ross, we hear this a lot, right?
Yeah, no, you're completely right. I mean, who has a vested interest in making people think that the dollar will not be the reserve currency or actually trying to dethrone the dollar? Well, yeah, it's our geopolitical adversaries. It's people, who get paid if they can sell crypto or gold or some other currency alternative. And so that is where these stories consistently come from, either geopolitical rivals. Just look at the sanctions that we levied on Russia a couple years ago. I mean, that was economic warfare waged with the dollar. I mean, yeah, of course they want the dollar to not be the king anymore. But as you mentioned, that we don't see any real evidence that that's the case. Something like 90% of foreign exchange transactions are done with the dollar on one side. 60% of global reserves are the dollar. The next 20% are the euro. The bond market dwarfs any other capital market in the world. So as you mentioned, it's a kind of a scare tactic. Occasionally it's geopolitical rivals. Occasionally it's people at home selling alternatives. But it's not rooted in real data. Something related to that, which is a myth that we can bust definitively, is central bank digital currency. So the idea that our central bank, the Fed, wants to replace physical dollars and bank accounts with something that they control, as a means to basically control the population, to kind of spy on our financial transactions. There's a couple of threads to pull here, but the main one is just that the Fed has said they're not going to do it. And the really important thing is that it would require an act of Congress and, the president getting on board and the Fed getting on board and the Treasury getting on board to make this happen. Bipartisanism is pretty rare these days. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but it's not being looked at really, and it's certainly not close to happening. So that's another one that it's a scare tactic. It's to try and worry you into doing something with your money.
I brought a quote for this one because I saved it because I get this question a lot. So do you. I brought this quote and I want to read it. It's from Jerome Powell, who's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Okay, the entity that controls monetary policy, interest rates in the United States. We talk about it a lot. You hear about it a lot. I have a quote from him. He went in front of Congress. Okay, he went in front of Congress in 2024. That would be March of this year, and he said the following. He said, "We are nowhere near recommending or adopting a central bank digital currency. People do not need to worry about a central bank digital currency that is nowhere near close to happening." That's a quote from the most important person in our monetary system. He's like, this is not a thing, nor have we planned it for it to be a thing. Another thing generated by people who are trying to get clicks and worries, and you're going to be debanked because we have this central bank digital currency. It doesn't exist. There's no plans for it. The crypto world, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these things, that's still up and coming. We don't know what that's going to be, but the chairman of the Federal Reserve, one of the most important people in the world, is like, this is not a thing. This was March of 2024. So just remember, people that are sending you that kind of stuff, those are typically ulterior motives, newsletters, news, make you worried, that kind of thing. So that one, I don't know where it comes from, but it's absolutely not a thing. So the third one we are going to do Social Security, always on everybody's minds. The myth, Social Security is running out of money because we hear about this trust fund being depleted by a certain date, and that's going to end up hurting Social Security retirees and we'll run out of money. Let's remember, Social Security is what's called a pay-go system, which means that people pay into it and then take it out on the other side. How would a pay-go system work? A bunch of workers pay for retirees, right? Let me remind you, the demographics of the United States are really, really good. Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, my kids, are 3 times as large as the baby boomers. So if I was a baby boomer, I would feel quite content that the demographics of the United States are really good for that system. Number 2, benefits come from payroll taxes. 83% of benefits come from payroll taxes, not from the fund. So even if the fund went to zero, there's still 83% of tax benefits right there. They would still be being paid. And can you honestly, does anybody honestly believe that they would allow it to go to zero and then just cut benefits? Because A, whoever cut benefits is just going to get voted out and they'll vote in people who will return benefits. And B, we could just print the money to refill the Treasury Reserve. We could just refill it. We print our own currency. We could just refill it. You might say, well, Mike, if that causes a bunch of inflation. Yeah, that's a different argument, though, than running out of money. Because in order for the United States to run out of money, we'd have to decide not to print it anymore. We'd have to say, no, we're not printing it. So Ross, this is another one of those, like, it's super like scary for retirees and taking it, but it doesn't really add up.
No, and I don't have much to add. That was a masterclass. You hit every point. And as you mentioned, like, it's a really scary headline. And we know how this works, right? If it bleeds, it leads. This is the financial version of that to get eyeballs and clicks and attention. So you nailed it. I want to hit the very last one, which is, I think, a little more, intricate or interesting, which is AI is going to take all of the jobs, right? There's been versions of this throughout history where robots or AI or some technology is going to replace all the workers or lead to mass unemployment. We've seen this kind of scare tactic or headline throughout history. And it really relies on one kind of faulty underlying assumption, which is that there is a set amount of work in the world to be done. And that if a robot or an AI is doing more of that work, humans must be doing less. But it's a fallacy. It's not real. We create new things. We invent new jobs. Every technological revolution throughout history has led to new industries and new businesses and new types of work. And, 200 years ago, we were an agrarian culture. People farmed. And today, that less than 2% of the population is in agriculture. But we all still work in other sectors. So we have a really strong labor market right now, really tight labor market. And that is in spite of all the technological progress we've made over the last 1,000 years, right? It's just, we've gotten better at putting people to work and new industries have popped up. The information sector, the financial sector, those things didn't exist a couple hundred years ago. So it could be lumpy, but I think it's a fallacy that AI is going to take all of our jobs. What says you?
Yeah, it's always funny when people worry about a jobs market that has one of the lowest unemployment rates in history. Like the unemployment rate's 4.3%. If you were to take the percentage of people working age, right? So I think it's 25 to 54, right, Ross? Yeah. And you were to say, how many of those are working? That percentage is one of the highest levels in history. It's kind of just below the highest it's ever been in history. So AI is a productivity tool. I've seen it used in incredible ways. I've seen people who used to take like a day to do a spreadsheet, do it in like 10 minutes. I've seen websites get created by AI in like literally minutes. What does that do? That frees that person to be way more productive. So instead of spending a day building a spreadsheet, you could have AI do it and then write about the spreadsheet or create content around it. You can do a whole host of other things. It just makes you way more productive. So let's not think that every technological advancement is net bad for society. I can't think of any. I can't think of any major invention that took jobs out of especially the United States of America, where that's one of the most productive and profitable and entrepreneurial nations in the world, maybe history. Let's not think about AI as this like drain on society. It could be one of the most important inventions ever.
So absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to do this, Russ. There'll be more myths. Like we'll get a chance to do more of these. Just remember, if something's on your mind, we always like to say, who's the person telling you? Are they selling you something? Are they trying to make you nervous to keep watching? So if you have a question, feel free to ask us or your advisors. We love answering these questions. We wanted to do these because we hear them all the time, and hopefully this stands the test of time, right, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, we are not wide-eyed optimists or naive about the problems in the world, but we can tell when something is coming from a bad actor or is a bad faith argument made to scare people or to sell something. And we want to be on the other side of that. We want to push back against that sort of thing. And these ones in particular are ones that you and I see far too often. And it really bums me out because I know that our clients are, occasionally afraid and making big decisions with their money based on these bad actors. So it's something that we'll keep doing. Hopefully this has been helpful, but we'll be here. I'll be here for the rest of my career doing this. So I don't know. Any final thoughts, Mike?
33. I'm trying to remember what, like at 33, my back didn't hurt. Like I could sleep through the night. Like I think 33, I would love to go back to 33 personally, just because maybe I think I was gray. So I don't think I had less gray hair back then, but I'm happy for you. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thanks, man. I'm slowing down for sure. It's slowing down, but but we can feel it a little bit.
All right, stay tuned. We got a couple more episodes to end the year. I'll probably do 3 more. Hopefully the stock market continues to do well. There'll be an election in a couple months. We'll definitely circle back after that. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for watching All That Matters. Opinions expressed in this episode belong solely to Mike and Ross and do not necessarily represent the opinions of Baird. This program is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any investment decisions.